Hello, heathens, and welcome to another New Books. Should you read them? And again, you are a grown-ass adult. You make up your own damn mind. But these are my opinions. So this is what I think of the latest batch of new releases. I have been motoring through my new releases. I really have been very proud of myself and reading them. I've been very excited about a lot of these. So, you know, I've been getting to them. And I will say there have been some incredible hits and a spectacular miss. So let's get started. Okay, we're not going to start with the spectacular miss first. Let's start with a book that I cannot stop thinking about since I read it. This is The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And I love Mexican Gothic by the same author. That's my favorite one of her books. I've read a lot of her books. I'll be doing a video, kind of a favorite first, way to start, that kind of thing, because she has a lot of books and she writes in a lot of different genres and blended genres. I don't feel like her books ever stick to just one genre. They're always a blend and something new and something interesting. And this book has witches that behave more like vampires. Now, if that doesn't sell you. Okay, this is so good. So within this book, you have 3 generations of women. And again, Sylvia tends to, I think all of her books, I can't think of one that isn't, are set in Mexico. She's a Mexican author, and they're all set in Mexico, which I love as well. And it's like 3 generations. So you're in the 1908, I think it is, the 1930s, and then sort of more present day, the 1990s, 1998. Well, not present day, 1998, the 90s. And you have this thread of the mythology and the lore of being cursed and of witches that kind of runs through each one of these storylines. So our current 1998 storyline is actually set at a university, so there's an element of dark academia here as well. And our main character, she's doing a thesis on a female horror author, very famous female horror author. And she wrote this book called The Vanishing. And she said she based it on a true event of one of her friends when she was at university, I think it was the 30s, going missing. So what our main character here is trying to do is she's trying to figure out the inspiration behind this story and see what's true, what isn't, what happened to Ginny, who was the girl that inspired the story, The Vanishing. And so again, you've got this kind of like thriller crime element where she's trying to figure out what happened to Ginny. You know, there are a lot of the stories where she ran off with one of the workers at the school at the time, because they were all set at that same school. But then a lot of her friends are then saying, no, that couldn't have been what happened. But Ginny always claimed to sort of see spirits. She was very into spiritualism. And she sort of felt like she was being watched before she disappeared. And then you've got our main character in current time, whose Nana used to tell her about witches, and the family kind of believed in the mythology of being cursed and of witches, and she's kind of using that and that mythology as she's unraveling what happened in the past. And then you actually have her grandmother's story of what kind of caused her to believe in witches and what happened way back when, sort of in early 1900s, what happened to her and her brother and her family and the curses and the witches there. It is obviously paranormal. It is so well done, though. It is so gothic. It is so slow burn. It is so, there's that proper creeping gothic eeriness, and you're like, oh, is this paranormal? It's that perfect atmosphere. For me, it's what I adore and what I love in my books. And like I said, these witches, they're not your standard witches, if that makes sense. It's very clever and it's very interesting the way Sylvia has written this. And I would recommend reading the author's note in the back as well. So do I think you should read this? 1000%. This is an easy 5-star. I adored this book. I adored reading it. I adored my time with it. I do think it's the perfect autumn book. Beautiful copy as well. I do think it's the perfect book to read in the spooky season, and it will be being recommended ad nauseum. Okay, let's go to a book. I am going to have to eat my words. I mean, hang on. Right. Oh, it's disgusting. That was me literally eating my words. Okay. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. And the reason I'm eating my words is because I said I wasn't going to read this. I said, I wasn't such a fan of One Dark Window. I didn't really get it. I didn't get the hype around it. So I'm not going to read this. And then, because I cave to peer pressure. Just like it. So easily. I kept getting FOMO. I kept seeing people talk about this book, saying that they loved it, saying that it was so cool. And there was a talking gargoyle. And I did not think I could cry over a gargoyle who is literally stone. But alas, here we are. This was spectacular. And I actually dressed to sort of match I'm also wearing my Moth moon earrings to match this book because I loved it. So again, this is the most perfect gothic dark vibes. I think Rachel Gillig did an incredible job with this. So what is this about? So this is about Sabine, who is a diviner. She's one of 6 who live in this tower in this world. And in this world, you've got these kind of different gods that have different powers. And she, as a diviner, people come to this abbey to find out their future and find out their prophecy and see if the fates favor them. So one day, the young teenage king comes and he's like, what my fortune read. And Sabine gets the honor of doing this because she's the favored diviner. And this book is really dark in a lot of places. So it's really dark the way they do this. They get drowned by the abbess, right? By the Mother Superior, whatever we call it. She literally drowns them in this special well water. So they have their dreams, so they divine. And his divination doesn't go so well. But also the other part of this is these 6 girls have been there for a long time. They're only supposed to be there for 10 years and then go forth and conquer. But they're getting really restless. And the girls, and they're only called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So she's 6. 1 goes missing, 2 goes, they started going missing. And Sabila's like, oh my gosh, what is happening to my friends? I want to know. And so the king's knight, who is he's hot. He wears guy liner. Okay, I mean, I am a goth girl, emo girl, a man with eyeliner. Yes. I mean, it literally turns you from nobody to hello, So he she teams up with him to go on a quest to find out what happened to the other diviners. And then he has his own quest, and I don't want to say what it is because it'll ruin some of the storyline. So they team up and they go, and can confirm, a talking gargoyle. So one of the gargoyles from the abbey, there's a whole bunch of gargoyles and they do things in the abbey, but only one of them can talk, and he's her friend. And this talking gargoyle, he was everything. But I think that the vibe and the writing and the atmosphere, if you like, again, the gothic, spooky, darker vibe is immaculate. And I'm gonna have to eat, oh God, I'm going to put this back in my mouth. I'm going to have to eat my words a second time because I was like, how is this possible? How can I love this so much and not One Dark Window? I am currently rereading One Dark Window because I listened to it on audio and I feel like it didn't do it justice on audio. And also I listened to it at a weird time. And guess what? Yeah, I'm like 100 and something pages in and I'm loving it. Yeah. Eat my words. I'm gonna eat my words. But we'll talk more about that later. Right, next up. Oh, this is like reading a tabloid in the 90s. This is like if The Sun was in a book form. Okay. This is the new Jessa Hastings book, Time of Your Life. I know there's some sort of controversy. I don't subscribe to any of that. I just read the book and see if I like it. And gosh, did I love this. Jessa Hastings, again, she put something in her books that I just love. Also, Night and the Moth, do I think you should read it? Yes, if you like the gothic vibes. And I think if you liked One Dark Window, definitely read The Night and the Moth. This one, so This one, I will say, I don't think this is going to be for everybody. I don't think everybody's going to like it. I think if you like Jessa Hastings writing, if you like celebrity gossip style stories, if you like messy toxic relationships, which Jessa Hastings does brilliantly, I think you will like it. This is about a supermodel and the frontman of the biggest British pop band of the time in the 90s. This is also in the 90s, by the way, which is great. That features two brothers that don't really like each other, get really drunk and fight on stage. Oasis. So I mean, you know, the relationship is very sort of Kate Moss, Pete Doherty, if you know, coded. But Joe, he's very Oasis. Him and his brother are very Oasis coded. And this kind of really messy, toxic lifestyle that these people lead, and also this messy, toxic relationship that these two have together. They're in their early 20s. They're both celebrities. Also, it drops so many names, so many designers, so many celebrity names. It was also written, Joe's parts are written in Mancunian, because he's from Manchester. He's Mancunian. So again, if you don't, that's a very specific style, a specific way of speaking. And if you've ever listened to anybody from Manchester speak, you'll know what I mean. And she writes in that way, which I love because it added to the character. But again, I am not 100% sure that everybody would like this. So would I recommend this to everyone? No. But I think I loved it, but you have to not be bothered. You have to love that celebrity thing. You have to not be bothered by, celebrity and pop culture references being dropped. And I think you've got to love Jessa Hastings' style of writing. I loved it. This was a 4-star read for me. But I get it. I get it. I won't be offended if you don't like it. Okay. I will. No, I'm never. I don't care. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, then do I go to my book of the? No. I'm going to keep you hanging on for my favorite book. Let me talk about this one. Actually, I think this book is criminally underhyped. Okay, so I think you should absolutely read this. Everybody should pick this up. So this is A Dance of Lies, and this is by Brittany Arena. And I would say, if you want a fantasy book, a fantasy book with romance, but where I think it's not necessarily, the plot is not necessarily only romance led, where there's actually a really cool, interesting, intriguing fantasy plot, I think you should read this. I cannot believe this is her debut novel. Are you kidding me? It is so well written. Okay, so what is this about? So our main character, I forget, what have I forgotten? Vasily. So our main character, Vasily, this book starts out, this is also quite dark, and a lot of the subject matter is really dark, so check your trigger warnings on this. But Vasily starts out in the dungeon. She's been in the dungeon for 2 years, okay? And you find out the reason she's in a dungeon, chained up, malnourished, is because she was accused and convicted by the king of offing his advisor. Thing is, she did not do it. And the king knows she didn't do it because she was with the king at the time. So, he's locked her up for 2 years. And she's a little angry about that. She's a little bitter. Also, you find out that she was what they called the king's jewel. So she was a dancer in the king's court, and she danced and she entertained, and she was his favorite, and he adored her, and he treated her like an absolute queen, essentially. No one was allowed to touch her. He didn't even touch her in any way, But you could tell that he admired her, and essentially she thought he would always protect her and love her, and she thought she was appreciated and loved and whatever. And then he brutally betrays her, right? And she doesn't know why. She's been in the dungeon for 2 years. And then one day they pull her out, and they're like, hey, Vasily, soz about the dungeon thing. But hey, I'm going to give you a chance to earn your freedom. And there's this big sort of meeting that's happening between all the different ruling parts of this land. Now, this land has different areas to it, and there's actually 3 brothers. So Ilian, who is her king, who's the king of her sort of area, and then his elder brother Etienne, and then Anton, his youngest brother. And they each rule a part of this area, and then there's other rulers as well. So they're all getting together for this treaty conference thingy. and there's going to be entertainment, and he says to her, if you need to get in, be an entertainer, and then I'm going to give you things to do. You need to basically spy for me and do tasks for me, and if you do that, I will pardon you and I will let you have your freedom. So you can imagine she's like, okay. Also, she's been in a dungeon for 2 years. She has to get ready in 5 weeks, and she's actually kind of, and I love this part of it. So her body obviously is not what it used to be for dancing, so she's got to find ways around that in her dancing, and the descriptions of the dancing and the descriptions of how she gets around that. And this book has been touted as one that has disability rep, and I understand that, because there are certain things that she can no longer do. She's not strong like she used to be, so she has to find other ways to do that. She gets tired really easily, and I really like that. I like the fact that she has such a strong spirit, but her body does have a weakness, and she has to find a way to work with that. And then she kind of gets there, and she slowly starts to realize that she does different things, and then she sees the consequences of it, and she's just like, hang on, am I on the right side of this? Because there is stuff going on here that I don't know about. And she starts to understand what's going on behind the scenes, and we start to see different things and different sides of people, and there's a lot of like intrigue and betrayal. And then there's a romantic subplot as well, which is beautiful. But the main focus is all of that, is the intrigue, the betrayal, is the characters, is the, her personal struggle. It's so good. It's so good. I don't want to shut up about this book because it is just phenomenal. I don't hear that many people talking about it, and I really, really think you should read it. I think Brittany Arena deserves all of the love for this book. It's also one of the most beautiful covers. Look at that cover. It's absolutely stunning. But all the love for this book because it's incredible. Then, let's go to one that wow, this was a miss. I'm going to do the two that were, and then my favorite at the end, okay? Wow, this was a miss. If you love this, please don't cancel me. I love you for it. But man, did I dislike this. I think the word hate is going to come up. The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Bridget Knightley. Now, this is one of the 3 books that was originally Hermione fanfic, okay, but got traditionally published. I believe this one was changed quite a lot. At least the author said that this is like its own story. But I mean, even if you look at Draco over there, it's that was the basis of the story, let's say. I never read that fanfic. And so I went into this like, oh, this is cool. So the premise here is you've got these 2 mages, magicians, sorcerers, whatever you want to call them, and they the one is, he has like dark magic and he's an assassin for hire, and then she's like a healer and has like white magic. Okay, so Draco and Hermione, and they're kind of on opposite sides, but he's sick, right? He's ill, and apparently she's the only one that can heal him. So that's the setup for the story. And that was it. I got like 150 or something. I got quite far into this book, and I just could not do it anymore. First of all, nothing happened. Literally, he was like, help me, okay. And then she proceeded to try and help him and failed. And it just, that was the entire storyline. But the thing that was super not up my alley was the writing style. Now, I think this is a very specific writing style. I would absolutely say, please just read, like, either pick it up in the bookstore or online or whatever, preview it, read like the first chapter and see whether you're gonna like it, because it's very pun heavy, humor heavy. It's like an episode of Blackadder. I find it very British humor, but not the kind that I like. There's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of kind of snarky back and forth, but I didn't particularly find it funny. I mean, the sexual innuendo jokes, it was like every line. It was just like, okay, I get it. And he's like a cartoon villain, and I don't like cartoon villain. I want a shadow daddy. I want a dark stalker assassin. I do not want some, like, he comes across as like a bumbling, like a Blackadder kind of, if you've watched Blackadder. Like, just, I hated it. I hated it with every fibre of my being. I don't think anyone should read it, but if you think it sounds good, and like I said, please try the writing, and if you like that writing and you think it's funny, again, for reference, I don't like Terry Pratchett. I'm assuming it's not the same, but yeah, kind of like that sort of writing. Just yeah. Moving on. Then another one that I picked up. This is The Reaper, and this is by Jackson P. Brown. Now, this one for me, again, is a, should you read it? Maybe. I don't think this was bad, but this was very much a 3-star read for me, because there were things that I liked about it, really liked about it. And then there were parts of it that I wasn't that keen on. So let's start with the positives first. What I liked about this, what the story is, first of all, it's set in London, which is amazing. And literally the first line of this book opens up in Camden Town, which I love, is a part of London that I love. And I was like, this is great. This is an urban fantasy. And it follows a Reaper, so literally the Dark Reaper, as in the title. And then our main female character, I'm trying to remember what her name is. Please hold, Amy. So Gerald is the Reaper, and Amy is our main female character. And Amy is an empath. She can read emotions. And the setup here is that we are in London, but there's like a layer of London underneath, like an alternate London that people can't see, where the supernaturals are. And again, one of the things I loved is this book has vampires in it, it has werewolves in it, it has basilisk, it has anything and everything, right? And maybe a little too much, but it has anything and everything in it. So I loved that. And what I also love about this, these are all POC characters, the POC author, which is really nice to see that representation for a change in books. And the mythology behind the Reaper is he's from a tribe in Africa. And there's a lot of kind of mythology around that. And I loved the way they kind of talked about the fact that this tribe has a curse on them to be reapers. And what happens is they have this like book, that's almost like a grimoire, and a name will appear in it, and they have to then agree to take the job. So there's a series of these people from this tribe of reapers all over the planet. And, you know, you kind of get the feeling that either very rich people or really high-ranking people or people that really need getting rid of, their names appear in this book, and then the Reaper will go out and see ya. So I loved all that. I loved the setup. I have to say, the image, like I can still see this London in my head, the way she describes going downstairs and going to like the alternate London where all the supernatural lives, and you've got the alternate cabinet ministers and all of that. I loved all that. I thought the world building was very cool, and I loved the sort of setting of it for urban fantasy. I thought it was really fresh, and like I said, I liked the premise. Where it fell short for me, and again, this is also a debut, and I think that shows a little bit, is that the premise of a Reaper and him having kind of no empathy and no emotions, because really his job is just to get rid of people for money, and he's like an assassin, so he gets paid to do this. This is not just bad people, this is just like, if you can afford to get rid of someone, and there you go, right? So he doesn't really have any empathy, whereas she is literally an empath, and she can see auras and she can feel emotions. And I thought that dynamic between the two of them was very cool, but I don't think it was explored enough for me. I think you could have done a lot more. And like I said, there were a lot of characters. We got thrown into the deep end with like a lot of people started popping up, and I just feel like the plot itself, it kind of got away from me a little bit. I was like, oh, okay. What she does is she infuses real life politics and things around the refugee crisis and around some scandals in the UK government. So real ones, because I recognize when they're talking about Dolphin Court, these were actual scandals that are going on and were going on in the UK government a few years ago, into the storyline. And then you've kind of got a supernatural storyline where you've got supernaturals and witches. I love the witch, but then you had so many different tangents. And I don't feel like I didn't really like the real world politics. So I think it took me out of this incredible world that she built. And I would have preferred to have stuck with a more fictionalized storyline and kind of reason for, if that makes sense. I get why she did it, and it's totally valid, but I feel like it took me out of the story, and I just feel like we went in too many directions, and the things that I wanted to explore, we didn't get to explore the characters enough for me, and I kind of got to the end of the book and I wasn't really attached to the characters. I do believe that this is going to be a series, so I do wonder if maybe as that series hits its stride, you'll get more of the characters. But as it stands, I think if it sounds interesting, if you want to give it a go, if you want a fresh take that's set in London, all the London landmarks, all the areas, give it a go. But again, I don't know if it's going to be, it wasn't my favorite read, but still, if it sounds interesting, give it a go, right? And you know, like I said, debut author, so. And then my favorite book. Okay. My favorite book of the month, the year, the life. I love this book. I love this book. I thought I was going to love this book. Okay. Oh, did I love this book? First of all, she's beautiful. She a stunner. She is a supermodel of a book. Look at that baby. Look at her go. She is... Ooh, this is Terror at the Gates by Scarlett Sinclair. Okay. Where do we even start? This is book 1, Blood of Lilith. And Scarlett, babe, if you're watching, write the second book. I wanted stat. I want to know how this continues, okay? Because the end of this book, jaw, floor, picking up, really want more of it. Okay. When are we going to get a second book? I don't know. This literally just got released. Probably not for a year. Okay. So I have to console myself with that, and I'll probably be rereading this a few times. So what is this book about? Okay. Our main character is called Lilith Leviathan. Is that not the best name for a main character ever? And what I will say about this is, as you may have guessed by the title above, Lilith, if you know your Bible stories, Lilith is in some mythology considered to be the first wife of Adam. She was a bit of a rebel. She got kicked out of that garden for being naughty, and then they brought in Eve, who was a subservient, and there's a good wife, trad wife, you know. And Lilith, she's portrayed as a witch and kind of evil and temptation incarnate, you know. So right there, Lilith, right? So I was like, I'm so interested in this. Like, literally, that was all I needed to know. And I saw the cover and I was like, yeah. But this is so interesting and so well done. It has kicked off my love of urban fantasy. And that was why I picked up the repro so quickly as well, because I'm really back into my urban fantasy, like vibe, right? Because my love of fantasy actually started with urban fantasy, with Laura K. Hamilton and Kim Harrison and those kind of novels. So this is me back in my kind of urban fantasy era. This is set in a world where we have different districts. And each district is ruled by one of these families. And the church plays a very big role, and the kind of teachings of the book. And the women in the society have magic, but their magic is literally siphoned by their husbands. And they are completely subservient to their husbands. The daughters get married off for, you know, political gains to people, and they have to just be good little docile, subservient wives, and their husbands siphon off their magic when needed to bolster their own needs. And Lilith is like, hell no, I'm not. You want to marry me off to some rando? No, thank you. So she leaves her family and she goes to stay in the dodgiest district, right, where there's a lot of clubs and there's a lot of dancers and that. She wants to be a dancer, but she is also a bit of a thief. So she steals. Her power is she can incite lust in men, and we all know that if this brain stops working and that one engages, so she kind of can get them to do whatever she wants, really. And she steals things that way. So one day she steals a dagger, which is a religious artifact, and she should not have stolen that. No shit happens. Okay, that kind of kicks off our sort of storyline and intrigue into what is going on in this world, what is actually happening. Are these stories true? What is behind the gates? what is behind the gates, and what are these guys doing, and what is the crap that the Pope or whatever his name is spewing back there? But also, so you've got that whole storyline, super interesting, super fun, you know, angels and demons and devils and all of that, super cool. But then you also have this amazing romance. So the head of this district that she is kind of staying in is Zareth, and he's my new book boyfriend. He's just incredible. He's like a mafia don, tattoos, black hair, smokes constantly, like dark, brooding, everybody's scared of him, but he is so soft for Lilith. He will do anything to protect her. And they have such a push-pull relationship. And I feel like he kind of falls first for her. She doesn't even realize how in love with her he is. And he'll do anything he will do anything to protect her. And I fell hard for this man. And I fell hard for this relationship. It is spectacular. It is, if you like Crescent City, if you like Gods and Monsters, the urban setting was amazing. I love the world that she created. And again, the discussion on religion, of course, if you can handle that, look after yourself. It does take a slightly darker tinge to it, so it's on the slightly darker side, but I wouldn't say very dark. It is spectacular. This is a 6-star read. This is in my Satan tier. This is going to be top 5 books of the year. 100%. I know that already. Its slot is there. Top 5 books of the year. So that is it. Let me know if you've read any of them, any new releases you're excited about reading, and leave me a snake emoji for Terror at the Gates if you got to the end of this video. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.